Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? Hope that you're doing well wherever you are in the world today. So, this weekend, I did one of the biggest speaking events I've ever done to Tom Bilyeu's Impact Theory Discord, which is a group of over 60,000 people. And we had a ton of people who participated and watched and listened live. Listened, I should say. There's no watching. And my speech was meant to be 45 minutes. And on the back side of it, I said, I'll do some Q&A. And in that Q&A, it actually turned into an hour, and then that turned into an hour and 15 minutes. And next thing you know, this was a 2 hour event. And it was really incredible because people just kept asking me these really interesting questions about healing, about therapy, about the way I think about the world, the way I, operate in my day to day, why I do this, and all the other things that come along with that. And it was a really beautiful experience. I'm so happy and excited that I got to have it. And in that, I wanted to, well, two things. One, we'll be sharing that as an episode of the show in the coming days. So I'm really excited about that. But for right now, what I want to talk about actually is my process of journaling. It was one of the questions that came up the most. Now, you probably have heard me say this in passing, but I have multiple journals. So if you're watching on video right now, you're going to see four journals, four different colors: red, brown, blue, and yellow. And I want to go through this process of journaling with you all so that you can have a little bit of a better idea of the understanding, the insights to what I do in my day to day when I sit down and journal. And I will say this as a caveat to this conversation. I've recently started doing my journaling in my iPad because I realized I could actually do that. And it actually is, it's carrying around an 8 ounce piece of machine and technology versus what I would say is the equivalent of like 3 pounds of journals, maybe five. I don't know. It's pretty heavy. And so I'm going to be moving away. I am moving away from this system, but I still built the same system in my iPad with an app that I use called Goodreads. And I'm going to talk to you first about my yellow journal because that typically is the journal that when I wake up in the morning and I just kind of sit down and I'm like, oh, I have just thoughts I need to get out. That's the journal that I go to. So when I grab this guy, it's really just about where am I at, what's top of mind. I'll give you an example. I'll read you a note that it says in here. Real value comes from who we are. Community needs to be heard because we don't feel heard. And so that's kind of like this idea that came to me in the morning as I sat down going through my day. So the yellow journal is one, I will say this, I do not frequently use it, but it is a journal that I go to when I'm like, I just have a lot of crap in my brain. I just need to get out. And it's not necessarily particular around anything. It's just, okay, this is a brain dump. And I've tried to do those kind of brain dumps on my computer by typing, but it just has never felt the same. So I really prefer that. My go-to is a journal called the Monk Journal. This is a brown journal. This was given to me by Akbar Sheikh, who is an amazing human being. And this journal I really, really enjoy for a couple of reasons. One is it's kind of been a staple for me for a while. And so you can kind of, if you're watching here, you can see there are, maybe you can't because of the lighting, but no, you can't. There are multiple different sections here. I've used about every journal that you can imagine in the personal development space. I've used the Impact Theory Journal. I've used High Performance Habits Journal. I've used Marie Forleo's journal. I've used Tony Robbins' journal. I've used them all. And I keep coming back to Monk Journal because of the simplicity. There are a couple things I don't like about it, but there are a couple things that I really love that continue to bring me back to it. And let me be clear, as you guys know, I'm not sponsored by any of this stuff. So I'm going to tell you kind of the layout of Monk Journal because everybody always asks me. So it always starts with date, and at the top it says a habit to focus on, and then a theme. And then there's three sections for priorities, and those are what I look at as the most important things that must be done that day. There's a to-do list, and then there's a gratitude list. There is a question that says or a statement that says I am looking forward to. And then you can build out a schedule. So the scheduling part is the part that I will say I don't like because my entire schedule is in my online calendar. I would never be able to use this. And then there's a couple sections in the evening on the other side of the page where you can reflect on highlights of the day. There's a statement of I was at my best when, and then I felt unrest when, and then one way I can improve tomorrow. And so that's one of the things that is really interesting. And I wrote here, I'll actually read this. I believe that people, wait, oh, sorry, hold on. I can't even read my own handwriting. Sabotage is doing things that you already know will destroy your life. That was one of the things that I wrote in the way that I can improve tomorrow. It's not actually like a literal way, but it was a thing that came to mind. So I've been using this journal for a long time. They are a little pricey, I'll tell you, but if you go check out, I think they're on monkjournal.com or something like that. Then there is my blue journal. So if you're looking online, this thing is covered in different colored tabs. It is color coordinated. This is my, what I call my education journal. This is where I sit down and I go through and I write in my twofold. One is for business, and then the other is for learning. So if I'm in personal development or things like that, but mainly I use this for business and entrepreneurship. So when I'm actually sitting down, I'm in a business course, I'm learning from a mastermind, I'm at an event somewhere. That's my go-to. And I always know that's my go-to, and I tab it for a reason. So, I have a couple different action items on here. So one of the tabs is an A, which means action. That's something I want to take action against because I know that it's going to work, or I believe it's going to work, and so it feels important. There is an I, and the I tab, again, I'm sorry guys, you can't really see this if you're online. The I tab means idea. So it came to me and I was like, oh, this might actually be a good idea, whether it's in business or in trauma space, whatever that may be. The yellow tab is to do. That means, okay, this is a thing that must be done. And then there's some other tabs there as well. But ultimately, I use that for that. The last journal, and what I would say is probably the most important journal that I have, is my red journal. And the red journal is most important because this red journal is where I often take all of the fucking chaos in my brain and I put it in a place in which I can like get it off of my mind, where I can effectively let go of it. Because I know previously and historically in my life when I carried weight of anger, of pain, of suffering, of guilt, of just being pissed off at the world, it got in my way. And one day I was talking to my therapist and he was like, you should consider like journaling and getting this stuff off your mind. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. I am a writer. I do love to write. Let me do that. And I sat down and I started doing that one day and I'll never forget. So this is probably red journal number 7 or 8, somewhere in that window. And the first night, I'll never forget, it was like this freezing cold December day in Portland. And I was walking home from my therapist's office because I had missed the bus and I didn't have a car back then. You don't really need a car in Portland. But I also didn't want to take Uber. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to walk. It's about a mile and a half. So I'm just walking after this session and I'm just thinking, I'm like upset, I'm hurt, I'm going through all the motions and I'm having this thought where I'm like, I don't want to be here right now. Why am I here? Why do I have to go through this? And just being really upset. And I got home, I grabbed this journal. It just happened to be red. There was no real rhyme or reason to it other than that. And I made it my anger journal. And that holds true today when I'm pissed off. Because, like, look, one of the things that I know about myself is I have massive anger issues if I don't displace them, if I don't put that feeling, those sensations, those emotions somewhere practical, right? You've heard me talk about how sometimes I leverage the dark side to build and create and grow Think Unbroken. But it was really 6, 7 years ago when I got serious about writing in this journal that I stopped carrying the weight of it every single day, where just I was not angry every single moment of every single day, and that has had a tremendous amount of impact in my life because I've realized that being angry in terms of like a daily doesn't really serve anyone, and it doesn't serve me, and I don't want to be that person, and so this journal has actually been very practical in my journey for giving me the space where I can get that stuff out. And I write stuff in that journal I'll never share publicly, all right, obviously. Or maybe not obviously, I don't know. But that's where I put these thoughts. And so someone asked me this question, they wanted me to go deep with it, and so I wanted to share that with you. And I would highly suggest, if you're not journaling, and I know you guys have heard me say this a million times, if you're not journaling, you really should be. You should be taking the time to get things off of your mind and out of your head and onto paper or onto your computer or wherever, so you can just free up your mental energy. And again, these are just my recommendations. If you, I would consolidate, right? If I were you, which I'm in the process of doing. But ultimately, it doesn't matter how you do it. You could write it on the back of a fucking napkin. Like, doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you do journaling. You take that space, you get quiet with yourself, and you try to make meaning of the situations and circumstances of your life. So, Unbroken Nation, thank you so much for listening. It means the world to me. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, tell a friend. And until next time, my friends, be unbroken. I'll see ya.